started. Can everybody hear me in the back? Can you hear me okay? Okay. First off, I want to thank Weber High School for having us here in the auditorium. It's a great venue for us, and hopefully more people will trickle in. I'm Justin Fossen. I'm a Utah State Representative. I was appointed back in April in House District 7. I took Ryan Wilcox's place when he resigned. And so I'm the newest guy on the Hill, and I like it that way. It's been really interesting and educational for me, and good to really dive into the issues that are important to you. So that's why we're here. My commitment to you as your representative is to ensure that you have the information that you need to help me make good choices and to keep us all in check. So in lieu of just pushing information out to you and telling you how I feel about things, my goal is really to bring the people who are the experts on the subject and allow you to have time with them to answer the questions that you have. It's important to me that that's how we move forward in our district. I will take 2 seconds and give you my campaign pitch. I am running right now. I will be on the general election ballot in November, and I encourage you to vote for me, of course. I appreciate the support of so many people so far, and it's just a great community to live in. I wasn't born, but I was raised in North Ogden, and I've lived here most of my life, and I attended Weber High, and it's just been a great community for me to live in and grow up in and raise my kids in. So that's why we're here. Ultimately, in my mind, is for the kids. Tonight, Common Core and everything that we potentially associate with Common Core, really at the heart of it comes down to the education of our kids. So again, my commitment to you is to pursue the best educational opportunities possible for our kids, and I certainly want your input and your feedback. For those of you who weren't here earlier, there are 3x5 cards here with pens. Feel free to please, I would encourage you, strongly encourage you to write at least one question for our panel of experts. You don't have to limit it to one question. I'll be going through the questions and handing them to our moderator, who I'll introduce in just a minute. And the panel will respond to your questions that are written. For those of you who received the email with a link to a Google moderator page, I'm hoping I can get to it because I'm on the student network here and it may be blocked, but if you did and we don't address your question, please write it down for us and we will. I'll try to pull it up here in just a second though. Without any more delay, let me introduce Tim Wheelwright. Tim graciously offered to moderate the discussion tonight. It's not a panel debate. It's an expert panel meant to really inform and answer the questions the best that they can in their capacities. Tim will introduce the panel to you. I want to take a second. Tim Wheelwright, former mayor of Pleasant View. Many of you may know him. An attorney by trade. When I looked for a moderator, I wanted somebody who I felt was balanced. So I looked at Tim, and he attended both BYU and the University of Utah, correct? So I think that's about as balanced as I could find. You won't hear Tim skewing questions and presenting anything differently than what you want to. So I really appreciate Tim being here. If we could just give him a quick round of applause, and I'll bring him up.
Well, it's a pleasure to be here, and this is a great turnout on a Friday night. I was a little skeptical about what kind of turnout we would have. So it's great to see everyone. Thank you for being here. Looking forward to spending the next close to a couple hours talking about a very important issue. And I was thinking, I am the former mayor of Pleasant View, so welcome to Pleasant View on behalf of the former mayor, I guess. If you're visiting us, especially most of our panel, I think all of our panel is not from Pleasant View, so welcome to Pleasant View. It's a great city, and this is the greatest high school in the country. So we're excited to be able to convene this. And I want to just also mention Representative Fossen. Thank you so much for convening this panel discussion. I think this shows great leadership by you and in trying to help us be better informed about important issues. And I'm confident that we're going to leave here tonight knowing much more about this issue, being much better informed. I'm excited to be here and doing this because I'll be honest, I can truly say I'm neutral on this issue. I don't have an opinion. I've read some things, I've listened to some things, but I'm really excited to be able to be part of hearing some in-depth discussion about Common Core, things that we should be concerned about, strengths that it has, issues that we need to be concerned about. So look forward to our time here. Just want to mention something about the format. This is not a debate. It is intended to be an educational discussion. The purpose of this is simply to disseminate information on what, by all accounts, has been quite a controversial issue and may continue to be so in the coming months and years. But it's all the more important for us to be informed, and so that's what we're hoping to accomplish tonight, is to keep the emotion out of it. There will probably be some passion that we will see, but we want our goal as a panel and as the moderator is to keep the emotion out of that. So we would ask, some of you may feel very passionately and emotionally about this issue, and we'd ask you just to keep some of that to yourself tonight as we have the opportunity to hear the pros, the cons, the points, the counterpoints, and better understand this issue. I'm accustomed to dealing with controversial issues. As Justin said, I'm an attorney, and my area of practice is immigration law. So maybe we ought to talk sometime about having a panel on immigration law and see what kind of emotion we might be able to have from that. So I'm going to stop talking, and now it's time for us to introduce our distinguished panel of guests. And so we're going to start at the far end. This is Wendy Hart. Wendy is the mother of 3. She was raised in Cupertino, California. She has a Bachelor of Science degree in Mathematics from Brigham Young University. A Highland, Utah resident for 15 years, she is president of a data migration company and currently serves on the Alpine School Board, representing the people of Alpine, Highland, and Cedar Hills. Welcome, Wendy. Next to her is Dr. Jeff Stevens. He received his Bachelor of Science degree and Master's of Education degree from Weber State University, his administrative supervisory endorsement in 1993, and received his PhD in Curriculum and Instruction from Utah State University in 1994. He also received an advanced reading endorsement from the Utah State Office of Education. Dr. Stevens has provided leadership in local, state, and national professional organizations and has been presented with numerous recognitions, honors, and awards for his leadership and abilities. And I don't think we said this, but he is currently the superintendent of the Weber School District. Next to him is Autumn Cook. Autumn grew up in an Air Force family, being educated in the public school systems of 4 U.S. states, plus the Department of Defense dependent system. Her experience with education has expanded as she has supported her children in public, private, and homeschool over the years in 2 more states. She co-founded 2 grassroots organizations in her former home state of Nebraska, chairing one of them, and worked for the Catholic Family and Human Rights Institute at the United Nations in New York. She holds a BA in journalism from BYU. Next to her is Elisa Ellis. Elisa is a mother of 7 children ranging from pre-K to 12th grade. She and her husband currently live in the beautiful Heber Valley. Elisa holds a Bachelor's of Science in Family, Home, and Social Sciences. She's presented her findings in public forums across the country, Utah legislative meetings, and in radio and TV appearances. Elisa was an integral part of the grassroots movement that founded Utahns Against Common Core. She was recently appointed to the newly created Science Standards Review Committee. Next to her is Sherry Hyder. Sherry is the Assessment and Accountability Specialist, Mathematics Specialist in District. She supervises all high-stakes testing, which includes SAGE, ACT, PLAN, EXPLORE, MAPS, BWA, Access, and others, for the district's 32,000 students. She also oversees and directs the mathematics curriculum with special focus on grades 7 through 12. She coordinates all research and survey instruments conducted in the district for master's projects and/or university-level research studies. And then finally, next to Sherry, is David Thomas. David is a member of the Utah State Board of Education and is the Chief Civil Deputy Summit County Attorney. Dave previously worked as a judge advocate for the U.S. Army and as an assistant Commonwealth attorney in Virginia. He previously served as a Utah Senator and was chairman of the Senate Education Standing Committee at the time. He's a graduate of Brigham Young University and the law school at the College of William and Mary. He and his wife Lynn are the parents of 3 sons and 1 daughter and reside in South Weber City, where he serves on the city council. So, let's welcome our panelists. So to get things started, what we're going to do is we're going to start with Wendy, and then we'll just work down the row. And I've asked them to take a few minutes, and we've already introduced them, but if there's anything else about their background that they feel like they would like to highlight, we welcome them to do that. But then we've asked them to share with us their perspective on Common Core and why they're interested in this issue and how they approach this issue. And so, Wendy, if you would please lead out for us.
Is there a switch or you can hear me? Okay. I have to say that while I am a member of the Alpine School District Board of Education, I do not represent the school board. Okay, closer? Is that better? Okay, so I don't represent Alpine School Board. My ideas and thoughts are my own. The question before us is who is in control of our children's education? The shift to the Common Core is a huge lurch away from bottom-up local control to top-down centralized control. Common Core is about creating a single pathway to supposed economic and educational success. Think about it, 45 states all adopting the same standards at the same time. 45 states all implementing Common Core testing all at the same time. All the publishers and teacher training courses aligning to Common Core at the same time. And what about college? AP, SAT, they too will be aligning to Common Core. What are the options should you object? As a parent, as a school, as a district? What are the options if we decide once we have full implementation and actual experience to back up the Common Core experience that we made a mistake? How do we amend? How do we turn it back? A few years from now, it will be too late. We have just signed on to a system to eliminate through attrition virtually all other options in public education. And who made this decision about what our kids will learn? A handful of people with a nod from Bill Gates and a couple of DC lobby groups were able to get their untested vision implemented via financial and legal incentives, as well as disputed promises of greater rigor, college and career readiness, and international benchmarking. We have decided to go down this path due in part to incentives, but also to the idea of not being left behind the rest of the states. People will say it doesn't matter where we get it, the ends justify the means. We must reject this notion. What we are saying in effect is that the principles we stand for don't matter, that parents and local communities don't matter, only the opinion of the so-called experts matter. In 1816, Thomas Jefferson wrote a letter about education. He said, "If it is believed that these elementary schools will be better managed by the governor and council, the commissioners of the literary fund, or any other general authority of the government, than by the parents within each ward, it is a belief against all experience. No, my friend, the way to have good and safe government is not to trust it all to one, but to divide it among the many, distributing to everyone exactly the functions he is competent to. Common Core violates both of these principles. Parents must control the education of their kids in school, not the government. And good and safe government, and that includes public schools, comes from dividing and distributing power. Consolidated power is unsafe and creates the potential for corruption, and at the very least, destroys the means of innovation and outside-the-box thinking." Jefferson goes on to say, "What has destroyed liberty and the rights of man in every government which has ever existed under the sun? the generalizing and concentrating all cares and powers into one body. This is exactly what Common Core does. We are at the crossroads. We can abdicate our parental and local responsibilities to the so-called experts and the rich philanthropists, or we can reclaim bottom-up, parent-controlled education. In the end, I will stand on the side of parents, local teachers, and local communities deciding what is of most worth to pass along to their own children.
Thank you, Wendy.
As Tim mentioned, my name is Jeff Stevens. I'm superintendent of the Weaver School District. I'm in my 30th year in Weaver School District and had the great privilege to, I think, work in each of the cones. Most of the children I taught came to Weaver High School, and it was kind of fun. As I walked in, I was what's the right word? Just a number of my former students are here celebrating their 20th high school reunion, and so it was wonderful to see them. I think people were nervous whether or not I was going to get here, and I was out with those great young people celebrating the 20th reunion. I'm an advocate for best practice. I'm an advocate for children. I'm also an advocate of best policy. In my office, there's a piece of tile, I think, that the PTA gave me several years ago. And it expresses a philosophy that I believe in very much, and that is best practice cannot flourish where best policy has not been established. And so anytime I'm advocating for children and for public education, it's because I'm advocating for best practice. We have not had good policy all the way through in the last 10, 12 years. We are not operating under best policy. And because of that, we're struggling with best practice. And I think that as tonight plays out a little bit, some of those areas where some policies have been established at both the federal and the state level, they are having an impact. To our guest to my right, I wholeheartedly agree. We've got local boards of education who are elected, who are invested, and we need to allow local boards of education to have the kind of governance over their students, their district, their schools, and remove it from a number of these other areas. So I'll look forward to our discussion tonight.
My acquaintance with Common Core began before my acquaintance with Common Core in Nebraska. I was living there and raising my kids, and a friend and I learned about a law that had been passed there that essentially took away the right of parents to excuse their children from school. We got involved in marshaling grassroots support for that and doing a lot of research as we did. Side note, the law was repealed just this year, only 4 years after it was passed. It was a bad law. But in investigating where that law came from, I found the National Governors Association as a main driver. So when I moved to Lehigh 3 years ago, and a friend was enthusiastically telling me about the PTA state meetings she'd been to, where they'd been told all about how wonderful the Common Core was and how it had come from the NGA, the National Governors Association, I immediately felt my radar going off and said, I better look into this. So I started looking into it, and what I found as I researched what it was and where it came from was that it had been created by an unconstitutional process that inappropriately brought together private interests and quasi-governmental entities. It wasn't the regular process. I also discovered that there had been attempts to establish national standards for decades. They started looking at it probably in 1989, and when they would fail, they'd say, okay, regroup, how can we do this? They realized in the 90s they couldn't get it through Congress. The people's representatives would never devolve that much power. And so they found the National Governors Association, which is a quasi-governmental entity, not a constitutional body. And the council